there, Runnineers, it's Manny again, and I thought this would be a great video, especially since we have Disneyland coming up. We have 2 more Disneyland runs before the hiatus starts in early 2026. I just thought it would be cool to compare both runs as they are right now. So we are going to compare, it's going to be the same categories for each one of them, and I have chosen 10 categories, and we will speak about Disney World first and Disneyland, and then we'll come up with which one is better. But before we do, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, give it a thumbs up, and more importantly, especially for this video, I would like for you guys to keep score also. So there's going to be 10 categories, and let me know at the very end if you agree with me, if you disagree, which is fine, and why do you disagree? I think this would be a really cool little game to play. So as I stated before, there are going to be 10 different categories, and so this can end up in a tie. Now, in each category, it can also be a tie. So even with a tie, it could still end up with a tie. But we're going to go ahead and get started with the first category. So the first category is going to be the Expo. Now at Disney World, it's very separated. So you come to the first area. If you're walking straight through, this is at the Wild World of Sports, the ESPN Center. If you go to the first place, it's going to have the merchandise. It's going to have the pictures that you're going to get with the miles, and so it's really, really cool. Then if you move on, I'm going to go which way? I'm going to go to the direction to get your bibs first. So that is to the left in the back, and if you go there, you're going to get your bibs. You are going to get some character pictures. They moved them all there as of now. And then you're going to have to go to a different location, the field house, and that's where you're going to pick up your shirts. But before you do, you have all the vendors there. You have some picture ops on the top. So it's very entailed. You're doing a lot of walking. So that is basically what Disney World Expo is about. So now let's go over to Disneyland. So at Disneyland, it's at the Disneyland Hotel, and almost everything is on the first floor. So they have there the vendors, they have there the merchandise, they have the race shirt pickup, they got some picture ops there. They don't have any characters, but that's what they have. Now, if you go upstairs, you're gonna have to go upstairs to pick up your bibs. That's where you have your bibs. That's where you can check your bibs. That's where the information tent is. But it's all basically right there at the Disneyland Hotel. So now if I had to choose which one I enjoyed the best, it's gonna have to be, and I have caps for both of them, so it's gonna have to be Disneyland for this one. And the reason is because everything is right there, especially since I'm recording. I'm able to record everything, go back to my hotel pretty quickly instead of walking. And if I miss something at Disney World, I gotta walk all the way to the back and then all the way to the front and then go get the shuttle, so forth and so on. So that's why I picked Disneyland. But remember, at Disneyland, they just don't have any characters, which is going to be a category in itself. So category number 2 is going to be the start, the finish, and the staging areas for the runs themselves. So we're going to start at Disney World. And now the start and finish is going to be in Epcot. They're separate, but you can see both of them. And the staging area is basically in between. Now the cool thing about the Disney World that sets it apart from Disneyland is there's going to be some character pictures that you can take, and there's usually 4 of them, and they basically have to do with the races, the race theming for that race. And of course, they do have some vendors there, so if you want to buy some breakfast, some coffee, or so forth and so on, you're able to get that there also. Now we're gonna move over to Disneyland. So Disneyland is basically, the 5K is a little bit different. So the 5K starts in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle and it ends up at Pixar Pier. And the start of the longer runs, 10K and half marathon, are out by Disney Way. There's a parking lot right there. It's a cast member parking lot. So the start is on the street, the finish is in the parking lot. And there's a smaller staging area. There is some picture ops and there is some vendors. But now to the moment of truth, which one do I think is better? And it's going to be at Disney World. At Disney World, you have the characters there. Again, it's a lot more entailed. It just seems to be a lot better. There's fireworks and so forth and so on. So I actually like the start and finish at Disney World a little bit more than I do at Disneyland. So category number 3 is going to be the start of the races. So we are going to go race by race. So we're going to start off with the 5-kilometer run. Now we're going to start at Disney World, where we start in outside of Epcot. That's where the start is. We run about a mile outside, then we enter Epcot, and then we go through Epcot and we finish in front of Epcot. So we exit Epcot. We don't finish inside of the park. We finish outside of the park. The good news is that they own all the property that we're running on. So even in the first mile where we're not running inside of Epcot, there is still a chance that you're going to see some characters. So now let's move over to Disneyland Run. And at Disneyland, they basically own everything. And I just basically said it before with the start and the finish. We start in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. We run inside of the park, inside of Disneyland Park. We go through the Esplanade, and we finish off in Disney California Adventure, right in Pixar Pier. So there's a lot of character stops there, and they're usually pretty unique character stops. So if I'm gonna have to give the props to one, I'm gonna have to go one over the other, and this one's gonna go to Disneyland. And the reason is because this is probably the only race that is very, very close to 100% run in the parks. And so that's the reason that I gave the edge to Disneyland, although Disney World is pretty cool too. So if you're keeping score, Disneyland is now up 2-1. But let's see how they both do on the 4th category, which is going to be the 10-kilometer run. Now at Disney World, we already know where we start. The start is going to be in the same place at Epcot. It's going to be in the parking area on the side of Epcot. And we basically run a little bit through Epcot, a little bit through the boardwalk area, and then sometimes through Hollywood Studios, but on the most part through the boardwalk area, and then we finish back in Epcot. At Disneyland, we actually start at Disney Way by the cast member parking lot. We start on the street, we run down Harbor, I believe, and then Catella, and then we go into the Pixar Place, and then we do go into the parks, and about the next 4-ish plus miles are in the parks. Again, a little bit outside, but they're the back area. There's still places to take some pictures. There's usually some pretty cool characters. We exit through the front of Disneyland, so Disneyland Park, and then we go back and we finish off in the parking lot, the cast member parking lot. So this is a closer one, but I still think that Disneyland is better, mainly because most of the run is in the park. So about 4 to 6 miles roughly are inside the parks, or at least inside of the property. Now I do know Disney World is all inside the property, but very little time, or about half the time, maybe even less than half the time, is in the parks. So now this puts up Disneyland 3 and Disney World 1. All right, so let's move on. So now we're gonna go to category number 5, which is the longer runs, and I'm grouping them together. So anything that's 10 miles or longer is going to be considered a longer run. We have half marathons in Disneyland. We have a 10-miler, a half marathon, and a full marathon at Disney World. So first off, we're gonna start at Disney World. Now, we start at Epcot just like we do for all the other runs, and the good news is that they own all the property. So even if we don't run in the parks, and there's not a lot of running in the parks, it's not more than half. It's less than half. So just in case you've never done it, we run less than half, but they still own the property, so you're able to run. And on the side of the streets, there can be characters, they can be picture ops, there can be stuff that you can do. So there is an advantage to running at Disney World. Now let's go over to Disneyland, where they are landlocked. So they only own that property right there. They own the parking lot that they have. That's where we start. We still do the first mile. This is a half marathon, the longer runs. We do the first mile outside, then we go into where Pixar Place Hotel is. We run about 3 or 4 miles within the park, and then we're outside of, and we're running in Anaheim. So once we get into Anaheim, then it depends on the run. So we have run, one of the better ones is where we run into Angel Stadium, but that's not a guarantee. We're not doing it this time. So a lot of people get upset about that because since they don't own that land, there is some bands playing, and they do have medical tents, they do have water, but there's no characters. So now with the moment of truth is, which one is better? And in my opinion, I am going to give that one to Disney World. So Disney World, because the longer runs, they do own the properties there. It's a lot different because they're able to put characters where Disneyland cannot. So there's a lot more, you're looking forward to seeing a lot more things than you are at Disneyland. And so now we're getting a little bit closer because Disneyland now has 3 and Disney World has 2. Now the 6th category that I picked was transportation. And we're gonna go over again Disney World and Disneyland. So at Disney World, if you are staying on property, they actually have shuttles that take you to the expo. They take you to the start of the run, at the end of the run, and it's included in the price of admission, so you don't have to pay anything. If you do take your own vehicle and you're going to the expo or you're parking at Epcot in order to run, they don't charge you for that. So it's a great added bonus. So there's no charge for that if you get there at a certain time. So spectators, if they get there a little bit later, may have to pay, but if you get there at a certain time, you don't have to pay, but it's free. If you are off property, you always can take a Lyft, you can take an Uber, you can take a taxi, you can tag along with people who are there at the hotel, whatever hotel you're staying at. You're gonna have to find a way to get to the expo, to the start and the finish of the race going back to your hotel. So now we're gonna go over to Disneyland. So Disneyland does have some transportation. If you're staying at their hotels, and I believe from what I've read, because I've never stayed there, the Pixar place does not have it, but I think they do. I don't know why I keep thinking, even though it's not listed on there. So they do take you to the front of the race for the 10K and the half. The 5K is within walking distance. And there is an art bus that is a local bus that does start running at about 3 a.m., 2:30 a.m., something like that. You have to pay. But what I experienced is that a lot of people would get on the bus and they would just say, oh, don't worry about paying. We're gonna take you, and so, and they would offer rides and that was it. And they would take us close to the start. And so, so we did have that. But over there, if you stay close to the start, you can actually walk to the start. Where at Disney World, there is no place to walk to the start. If you try walking to the start, because there is some hotels behind Epcot that you can walk over, if they catch you, they will ban you, so they won't let you run. So that is basically transportation at Disneyland. And with that said, which one do I think is better? Well, I've experienced the Disney World one a lot more. And the Disneyland one, I like the fact that I stay close by and I can walk to the start, I can walk to the expo. You go to Disneyland, you actually have to pay, even if you're going to the expo, even if you have a bib, you're picking them up your bib. So with that said, Disney World to me is the better transportation option overall. Does that mean they're perfect? No. Does that mean Disneyland's perfect? No. But I'm gonna give it to Disney World. So now we got a tie, 3-3. So let's move on because we got 4 categories left. It's gonna be a close one. So the 7th category is going to be the characters, theming, entertainment. I'm kind of bunching it all together. So picture opportunities that you can take. So we're gonna start off at Disney World. So I've already said it before, Disney World, they own all the properties. So they can put stuff wherever they want to. So there's characters, there's entertainment. The theming is gonna be basically equal because they always have pretty good theming. There's some questionable ones here and there, but on the most part at Disney World, the characters are at the start line. They're at the expo. And so now we're gonna go over to Disneyland because they do have some really cool characters on the course, but they do not have any characters at the start line or the expo. One thing I'm gonna give Disneyland is that they usually have some rare characters. I have seen Bolt there, I have seen Dumbo there, I have seen Peg Leg Pete there. So this one was a very close one to me. I kind of went back and forth. I kept thinking about it, but the fact that after the initial run within Disneyland parks, in Anaheim, once you get into the streets of Anaheim, there is no characters, and there's no characters at the start and the finish. I gave it to Disney World. So now Disney World is up 4-3 with 3 more categories to go. So number 8 is gonna be spectators. Which is better for spectators? So we'll start at Disney World. So at Disney World, they can go to the start, they can go to the finish. They're actually, if you look at the digital event guide, they will tell you exactly where you can go. For the longer runs, you can go to the boardwalk. They do let you, if you're able to, if we're running inside and exiting inside parks and so forth and so on, you can go to the front of the parks to look. Unless you have a ticket, you cannot go in. Disney World, also one of the coolest parts is that they do let you into Main Street USA to cheer on your family members. But again, once the race is over, everybody is gone, they're gonna move you out, so you cannot stay in there. So now let's move over to Disneyland. And Disneyland has another great thing that the spectators spectators can go. For the 5K, they cannot go inside where you are, but they can get in the Esplanade. And one of the coolest things is that they will be there at the finish line. All 3 finish lines, they'll be there. So they do allow people to go into Pixar Pier and cheer people on there. And of course, where the cast member parking lot finishes for the 10K and the half marathon, the spectators can go there. There is one advantage that they have at Disneyland that they don't have at Disney World. At Disney World, spectators can't just come up and see people running on the streets. If they do that and the police see you or the cast members see you, they're gonna ask you to leave, and you have to leave. I actually have seen it before where people do not leave and they can get themselves into a little bit of trouble. But at Disneyland, since it's landlocked and they don't own the streets, once we're in the streets, then you can go and you can spectate as long as you want to. You can basically follow your people. If they're running along one street coming back the other way and stuff, you can just go from street to street and check them out. Again, this one was a very, very close one because again, you're inside of Disney World, so you're able to see things that you can't see at Disneyland because you're outside in Anaheim. But even though it was close, I thought to myself, man, if I was spectating, I would love to be at Disney World, but even more so at Disneyland, I would be able to go from street to street to street in the longer runs and be able to see the person that I'm watching run. So I'm gonna give this one in a very close one to Disneyland. So if you're taking count at home, this is now 4-4. So we got a tie again with 2 categories to go. The next one I'm bunching together also is basically the merchandise and the medals that you get. So this one is gonna be very easy to talk about because the merchandise and at Disney World and at Disneyland are basically the same. I like it. I like everything. I like the fact that they have annual pass holder stuff at Disney World. They have Magic Key at Disneyland. The medals are usually cool. They're not like, it's not like one has one medal that is really cool and the other one has medals that are not. They have spinners, they have inner spinners, they have, there's a lot of different things, the glow in the dark. They have a bunch of different things. So this one is going to be a tie. Both of them are going to get my vote. So now we're 4-4-1 with 1 category to go. And the last category is just intangibles, just anything that's extra. So I was thinking to myself, you know, what is the extras, which is going to be like an after hours party, the yoga. And the yoga to me is the same. The one advantage that Disney Land has is that they're in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. Disney World has seemed to move them in front of the castle. They moved it over to Hollywood Studios, so it's in front of the Chinese Roman Theater. So that one I'd give a slight advantage to Disneyland. But Disney World has an after-hour party that is not at Disneyland. That's only for Wine and Dine. There's only one, and it's at Disney World. And it's included in your price if you have bought the challenge or you bought the half marathon for Wine and Dine weekend. If you can't purchase a ticket, if you did not get any of those, and it's a little bit less than $100, but you get to see some characters, you get to interact with some runners, music, so forth and so on. So with that said, it's gonna be another close one, but the last one, I'm gonna give the edge to Disney World. So Disney World wins 5-4-1. So 5 for Disney World, 4 for Disneyland, and 1 tie. So now I'm gonna turn it over to you. What was your score? Mine was 5-4-1. So 5 to Disney World, 4 to Disneyland, 1 tie. I'd like to hear what you guys thought. Put that down below. Is there something you agree with me with? There's some things that you disagree with me, and that's great. That's fine. I don't mind that. I actually love seeing people that disagree because I get to see their perspective. I think it's an awesome thing. So before we go, I'm gonna do one more video before I take off to Disneyland. And that is gonna be the last minute things, tips, tricks, that kind of stuff. So that's gonna be coming up. Look for it this Monday. I'm waiting for Monday just because that's when they're gonna drop the check-in pass, so you're gonna get your check-in pass, and so I'm gonna be able to show you where, if you have not ever done it or you haven't done it in a while, where the check-in pass is, and it should have the virtual queue for merchandise, and I'll go over that also. But without further ado, thank you very much for sharing your morning with me, your day with me. Create a magical day, create a magical run, and guys, see you sooner than later.